So you've heard two versions of the famous sermon that Jesus gave about the Beatitudes, about the blessings. And I'm going to give the King James version now. Now when Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on a mountainside and sat down. And his disciples came to him, and he began to teach. Jesus said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. And blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. And blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. And blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. And blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness. Theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil about you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you." Here ends the reading. So are the Beatitudes a hoax? Are they alternative facts? False news or fake news? Are they too good to be true? Too wonderful to be real? Too pie in the sky to ever get their boots on the ground? The House of Mercy in St. Paul, Minnesota, says that it is the best church for non-churchgoers. And I think they could very well be. And I think we're also a really good church for religiously wounded people, for suspicious people. And I don't really want to compete with them at all. See, I'm not really a firster. I'm not even a seconder. I'm just like most people, glad to be alive, among the muddled and the middling. I never wanted to be an American first. I just wanted to be human. My biggest problems most days is my New Yorker subscription, believe it or not. So for a long time, I've been a subscriber for 30-some years, and I used to get one magazine a week. And then I started getting two. And I knew there was some error, and so I wrote them, and I called them, and I clipped the little things out, and I did that about 4 times. And then I called them again, and last week I got 3. So if anyone needs an extra $6, put it in the plate. I'm kidding. But I'm really scared next week I'm going to get 4. But that is my biggest problem. It's excess. Too much. Way too much. And so when I hear the Beatitudes, I'm kind of an outsider. I'm more in the second half already, right? Already blessed. Already imagining that heaven is mine. The New Yorker subscription people seem to think I'm all right. That being said, there are real people who are meek and hungry and thirsty for justice, real people who are being persecuted on this block and in Syria, real people who are merciful and try to make peace despite the extraordinary forces that are against them. I call them the beautiful people with Jesus. And today I hear them jump-starting a blessing. Maybe you do too. You know what jump-starting it is. It's when you're out of power and you find an external source of power and you hook up to it and you realize, oh my God, I'm not that powerless at all in the first place. Blessings are jump-starters. They are promises hurled at curses. and I believe they are true, and understand that many of you have been too hoaxed for too long to imagine that they are. G.K. Chesterton's hero, Father Brown, put the hoax dilemma like this: how does a wise man hide a pebble? He hides it on the beach. Where does a smart murderer hide a corpse? He or she hides it on a battlefield. Intentional Jesus may or may not have been, but where do you hide a blessing? Inside a curse. That's where you hide it. In this week, with every likelihood that the coming week will be the same, if not more, many of us feel flooded or underwater. Unlike the picture on the front of our bulletin of another version of Doomsday, a New York City underwater, we feel flooded by information, whether in the form of executive orders or to-do lists. We feel a little unhinged, which is why the very most important thing I can say to you today is you have no idea how good it is to be the pastor, one of the pastors of Judson Memorial Church right now. You saw the frenetic pace. But we are opening doors all day long. And it is so good to be like a hinge, to feel that you're a hinge in God's family, and to be able to say, I know where you can get help. I know who will talk to you. I know who will join you. It is such a blessing to be so well-resourced and to have so many doors that know how to open. But of course, I use that word advisedly, the word open. For those of us more on the Marxist side or the materialist side of spiritual hope, we love that word open. Closed is our enemy, and open is our friend. Closed is our curse, and open is our blessing. So notice, please, right now that this has been a week of curses, not blessings. But something happened last night, and I think most of you know about it, but if you don't, I'm going to tell you. Due to the collective efforts of advocacy groups and organizers in New York, the federal court for the Eastern District of New York has now issued a temporary stay halting President Donald Trump's executive order. I was doing premarital counseling with one of the best immigration lawyers in town, Joshua Bar David, yesterday, and he said, Donna, hurry it up, I've got to go out to Kennedy. And I said, what, you going someplace? You know, I thought we had an appointment from 12 to 1. He said, no, I have to go out there and help people write habeas. I said, why? He said, you don't know what's going on at Kennedy? I didn't know. I had put myself on an email diet, and I just didn't know. And there were dozens of lawyers out there already at noon. Since the inauguration, the president, as you know, but it's important to say it out loud, has signed a cascade of executive orders threatening the safety and lives of hundreds of thousands of people, refugees, immigrants, Muslims, the indigenous, black people, and all working people in need of health care. He has directed our government to construct a wall on our southern border, punish sanctuary cities, facilitate the repeal of the Affordable Care Act, and construct pipelines, despite the protests of indigenous people. And he has signaled more to come. This week he seems to think that black voting rights are under his purview. I spoke to a friend of mine who's been at Standing Rock most of the fall, and she ended up not leaving. She decided to stay. And I said, why? And I had to call her on the day the president was trying to grab defeat out of the jaws of their victory. And she said to me, Donna, don't worry. The water's going to be okay. It may not be okay today or tomorrow, but you need to understand the water is going to be okay. She knows how to find the good hidden in evil, the long hidden in the short, and the blessing in a curse. So when Governor Cuomo issued an order late last night allowing protesters to board the air train to Kennedy, you know blessing is afoot. When people who are out of status were locked on a train by New York City police and that order came through and they were allowed off, you know blessing is afoot. When Congressman Nadler shows up at Kennedy Airport on a Saturday night and makes a brilliant speech on behalf of human beings, you know a blessing is afoot. When taxi cab drivers go on strike at Kennedy Airport, you know a blessing is afoot, because nobody gives up a fare, at least not in my world. And by the way, the head of the taxi cab drivers union was married here. It took her 3 days, about 5 years ago. I'm entering her in the competition with House of Mercy in St. Paul, Minnesota. And when she came on last night to say that those drivers were going to be encouraged to stay on strike, because how could they not transport refugees to this great city? How could they do it? What's a blessing? A blessing is the can opener on the can of worms. It is not afraid of suffering so much as it understands that suffering is not final. The blessing here for many of us is, instead of being part of a culture that is allergic to grief and scared of trouble, we might even become blessing jump starters by seeing trouble as pregnant with the good. We might grow up. Miles Davis, the jazz musician, says that jazz comes from playing the notes that aren't there, rather than playing the notes that are there. A blessing is like that. It pulls the covers off the trouble and looks under the sheets, which, by the way, is what 2/3 of the people in the world, if not 3/4, if not 90%, already know how to do. America first? In what? A blessing is the opposite of a curse, in that a curse has a feeling of awful permanence. Not only are things bad now, they probably will remain bad for the foreseeable future. The future is closed and will remain closed. The future is no longer open, it is closed. The doors are even starting to shut down on many people's hope. See, a lot of people have been running around New York and elsewhere cursing each other. Nothing to do, nothing I can do, everything I've done didn't work. The hand-wringing has really gotten out of hand. That was a pun. So I put myself on another diet, only 10 minutes an hour of OMGs. The other 50 minutes I need to get back to work and hope. I was overusing the words apoplectic, absurd, preposterous, impossible, and other curse words like them. A blessing is different than a curse. A blessing imagines that the future is open, wide open, by the mighty hand of an almighty, not phony God. A blessing understands that weeping endures for the night and joy returns in the morning. You heard the text. You are open to a blessing right at your worst moments. Like the prophets before you, you are most blessed at the end of your rope, not when you're all safe and secure and cornered around by it. Like the prophets before you, you are most blessed then. You have what Jeff Brown calls a truth ache. A truth ache. And in a truth ache, you are being broken open. You could say that the Muslim ban is an active curse. It may say it's an executive order, but it's actually an active curse. It's a curse on steroids, the kind of curse that causes curses flung back at it, So I ask you this: if there is a terrorist incident this week or this month, God forbid, should any of us be surprised? Who is keeping us safe? The government or the people who are actively defying the government on behalf of our safety, security, and shalom? You know, when I had cancer 16 years ago, I was living a different life. I really thought, mistakenly, that I wasn't loved. A lot of people feel this way sometimes. I actually thought I was a ministry machine. And once I couldn't do things for people, that would be the end of me. And boy, was I wrong. With the support of my family and my congregation, I realized that people loved me even when I couldn't do things for them. It was fantastic to find that out. It was a blessing inside the curse of cancer. Steve Jobs said the same thing. He got fired from Apple, and he said it was the best thing that ever happened to him. Isn't that how a blessing and a curse works? If we were to rewrite today's Beatitudes, especially for white Christians who are apparently welcomed into the country, in a kind of sick-making satire on Jesus, even the Roman Catholics have issued a "we don't want it." It takes a lot to get the Roman Catholics to do something. And they did it. They have issued a statement that says, we do not want this kind of exceptionalism in the name of Jesus. We just don't want it. So I might rewrite the Beatitudes this way. Blessed are you when you realize you are wrong and on the wrong side, for your humiliation can become the fountain of your wisdom. Blessed are you when you feel like you are a dead butterfly in someone's collections with your wings pinned back and you can't move and everybody's looking at you and wondering, what happened to her? For soon and someday you shall fly. Blessed are those who are comfortable, for they will soon be uncomfortable. Blessings are what Pema Chodron calls unconditional friendliness to all of our experience. Unconditional friendliness to all human experience. We play the notes that we can't see yet and make a jazzy blessing out of trouble. Amen.